So you're playing Season 2 of Diablo 4 and you don't know what the f to play. Neither do I. I'm Pool Noodle and here's my picks for all the classes. The Sorcerer is one of my favorite classes in Diablo 4, and the build that I'm choosing is Chain Lightning leading into Firewall at either 10 if you finished all of your Renown or 20 if you haven't. Early on, this build is insane. It has a ton of both AoE and single target damage, which you don't find very often in early builds, and all of its supporting legendary powers can be farmed the moment you hit level 25. The skills I use are Firewall as our main damage dealer, Inferno as our ultimate, and then Frost Nova, Teleport, Ice Armor, and Flame Shield as all the supporting skills. The Prodigy legendary passive regenerates a portion of your mana every time you use a cooldown. Luckily for this build, every single one of the supporting skills that I listed are all cooldowns. With this setup, you should be able to easily farm into the early stages of late game without any issues, and then build into whatever you want from there. The Pulverized Druid is another one of my favorites, and while it doesn't have the highest single target damage, it does great in AoE scenarios, and it's extremely straightforward to play. For the skills, you obviously go with Pulverize as your main damage dealer, Storm Strike with the Vulnerability modifier as your resource generator, Trample for the movement and damage, Poison Creeper for the huge amount of AoE damage, Earthen Bulwark for the tankiness, and of course Grizzly Rage for the ultimate. Your main two legendary powers should be Shockwave and Urson Horror, as these immediately buff your Pulverize and make you an absolute AoE machine. This is yet another build that can go very easily into the early stages of late game, enabling you to build out whatever you really want to play from there. The Necromancer build that I'm playing is the Blood Surge Summoner. This build has incredible AoE, impressive single target damage, and let's be honest, it's fucking dope you can summon skeletons to be your friends. So if you're lacking in that department IRL, the Necromancer's got you covered. For the summon skills, I have Raised Skeleton with Reapers and Cold Mages, and for the Golem I chose Blood. Following that, we have Blood Surge as our main damage dealer, and then for our other support skills, we have Corpse Tendrils to pull everything in, and then Blood Mist as an oh shit button, because you never know when you're gonna find the Butcher. The two most important legendary aspects for this are Edge Masters and Blood Bathes, which allows you to double cast your surges. This build, like many others, can farm easily into late game, and can even be your new favorite tool to use while you're collecting for that one mystical setup that you really want, which we all know is Infinimist. The Barbarian starting setup has to be Whirlwind. It's too much of a classic not to be. While its single target damage is good, its AoE is almost unparalleled, at least for starting out. For the skills, I take Lunging Strike as my generator, Whirlwind as our main damage dealer, Charge for the gap close, and because you look super badass when you do it, and then all three shouts, which are Rallying Cry, War Cry, and Challenging Shout. And this is because your main legendary aspect is Echoing Fury, which generates Fury per second anytime you have activated any of your three shouts. To follow that, you can also get Dire Whirlwind, and of course, Edge Masters. Now this is one of those starting builds that you can begin the game with, farm even more powerful gear and additional items for the setup through the mid game, and even build this same thing into an absolute unstoppable force in the late game. The Flurry Rogue is the one I'm going with this season. It has great AoE and single target damage, it's easy to understand, and it's extremely mobile, which is one of the best things you can be in ARPGs. For the skills, you go Puncture as your basic, Flurry as your main energy spender, Dash, Shadow Step, and Concealment all as extra movement abilities or escapes, and then Shadow Imbuement for its absolutely devastating AoE damage. Now your main three legendary powers are Encircling Blades, which modifies your Flurry skill to make it what you see here on screen, Edge Masters of course for the extra damage, and then Expectant, which synergizes really well with a combo point build because you go back and forth between your basic attack and Flurry in every single scenario. This build, like all the others, handles early, middle, and late game with absolute ease, which means you can farm literally whatever the hell you want and quickly build into that Uber Lilith dominating Twisting Blades rogue. Which one of these monsters are you starting this season? Let me know in the comments down below, and feel free to add anything you think I missed. When doing so, do me a favor and like this video and hit the subscribe button because we have so much more content planned for this channel. And of course, your free support means the absolute world to me. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and if you're bored, YouTube recommends this next one for you. Happy grinding, my friends, and I look forward to seeing all of you in Sanctuary.